90% of the Earth is covered by ocean. And we love living next to it, but honestly, the relationship has gotten a little complicated. On average, sea level is currently rising about 1.4 inches per decade. That rate is projected to increase as global temperatures warm. And one of the most important tipping points is the leading edge of the Thwaites Glacier.
Thwaites is called the Doomsday Glacier because if this glacier completely retreats, the world's oceans go up by 60 centimeters, at least. But if this system really does collapse, we're more likely going to look at a couple of meters of sea level rise. And that's scary. That's a lot of the eastern seaboard. That's a lot of Florida. That's a lot of Bangladesh underwater.
Researchers estimate that the leading shelf could collapse in less than a decade. That shelf slows the rest of the glacier from flowing into the ocean, and Kaya was one of the first 4 people to ever stand on it.
So we put a robot through the ice, and it swam up to a grounding zone, and we were just sitting there in the tent going, that's it. Oh my gosh, we're seeing it. Like, we are the first humans ever seeing this. There is this huge kind of thermal reservoir of heat that's sitting beneath it.
The threat posed by this kind of tipping point may already be eroding communities of color around the world. We visited one that's being displaced, even though it isn't likely to be touched by rising water for Miami to meet up with scientist Tiffany Troxler to see sea level rise happen in real time.
Today we're going to try to collect information that helps us to understand where, when, and how deep the flooding can be during these king tide events, and understand the quality of the water when we have these tidal flooding events.
King tide is a term used to describe an exceptionally high tide that occurs when the orbit of the Earth, Moon, and Sun line up just right. They've always happened several times a year, but in the last 15 years, here in South Florida, tidal flooding has become 4 times more common. Today, I'm joining Tiffany to help measure the extent of this year's highest tide.
It's important to collect information about how tidal flooding is occurring in our urban environment so that we can better fine-tune the adaptation strategies that we're considering now and into the future.
As we explored Miami during the highest tide of the year, flooding was easy to find. And some residents are already choosing to leave very desirable waterfront property because it floods so frequently.
No. Is it cold? Yeah.
Okay, not that bad.
All right, so water depth. You're gonna take the water depth.
Okay.
It looks like you got 8 8/10.
Cool here?
Yeah, got it.
All right.
What you're observing today is a direct outcome of changing sea level over time. We recognize it as an urgent issue that needs to be addressed right now with adaptation solutions and long-term climate change mitigation.
Projections show that by 2040, high tides will inundate city blocks, and high tides in 2065 will put the Airbnb that we stayed in for this shoot underwater, along with most of Miami Beach. It's a dire prediction, but most people who live in waterfront houses are likely to have the means to